hello. I am putting in my contribution to the inevitable slew of pissed off Sixers fans. That's what we're here for. So, for your approval, I present my angry Sixers rant for the day. So, I watched the game last night with a good friend of mine. Where to start? Joel Embiid and Seth Curry. They go over here. They go over here in this little pile of untouchable people for last night. Now, that being said, I don't really know what happened in the fourth quarter. I can't imagine it was their fault necessarily. Seth quit. Seth seemed to stop shooting, but that wasn't necessarily his fault. He just wasn't getting the looks like he was earlier in the game. They were actually guarding him. Took him long enough to figure that out, but they figured it out. Joel Embiid, his shots just weren't falling. Like all game long, Joel Embiid was just invincible. He couldn't miss. He couldn't be stopped. Roll down to the fourth quarter, he was still making the moves. His shots just weren't falling. And Seth was the same way. The couple shots he did get off, they weren't falling. I'm not saying it's their fault, because I don't think it is. I just think it's unlucky. They just, for whatever reason, both of those guys, all game long, Joel Embiid and Seth Curry had 73 points combined between two of them. In the fourth quarter, it just they didn't fall. It just wasn't working. So before I bust into players, I want to touch briefly on coaching. Doc Rivers kind of had a bit of a history before coming here of blowing playoff series. Yeah. I just this is the second game in a row that your team has lost a game that they were at one point leading by like 25. That's problematic. I mean, that's very problematic. Now, the other thing I want to touch on, and this obviously didn't decide the game, but it's something that I feel like I end up screaming about every single time I watch an NBA game. This is one of the reasons I hate watching NBA games. Nobody has ever been able to properly justify or explain to me how fouls are called in the NBA. I still don't get it. And not even fouls. Calls in general. There were 5 or 6 times last night. And this is why I don't like watching the NBA. There were 5 or 6 times last night I remember thinking, that's a travel. That should be either a double dribble or a carry. Guy will bring the ball up and he's like kind of got it like this, and then he's like, if I dribbled the ball or moved the way that half of these guys do in the NBA when I was playing basketball in grade school, oh my God. My coaches would have killed me. 5 or 6 times last night, I was watching, I was like, that's a travel. That should be a travel. That should be a carry. I'd have gotten killed for movement and ball handling like that in high school. In grade school. I'd have gotten killed for it. Fouls, specifically, there was the one foul on Matisse. Fourth quarter? I think it was in the fourth quarter. And don't get me wrong, everybody was kind of bitching about this being a bad call. Even the couple people I was with last night, the one dude's a Wizards fan. People were just, okay, it was a bad call. But I feel like I see shit like this all the time. So you've got two people. Trae Young is coming down the field. Matisse is going up to guard him. Trae Young comes in and shoves himself into Matisse's body. And somehow that's a defensive penalty. Never, ever, no matter how many times it's explained to me, will that make sense in my head. If the offensive player is initiating the contact, it's different if he wasn't even going up for a shot. It's different if you're going, like, all right, you jump, and when you come down, the defender's there. Okay, yeah, I get that. He was dribbling the ball down the court, shoved himself into Thibel's body, and it was a call. But it wasn't just last night. I see shit like that all the time. I have not watched an NBA game in the last 5 or 6 years since I actually started watching it. I don't think there's been a single game where I've watched and gone, how the fuck is that a foul? Not a single time. This is why I hate watching the NBA. Now, let's talk blame. As I said, Seth and Joe, they're over here in their own separate universe where they don't get blamed for anything because they scored 73 points between the two of them. The rest of the team scored 33. Our bench was miserable. Our bench was awful. 13 points. The entire game. 13 points. Our bench was fucking awful. Dwight Howard didn't hit a shot. You're really not going to win games when your bench doesn't put up points. Especially when one of your star players, seems to be nursing an injury all the time. Despite the fact that Embiid had a wonderful night. You need help from your bench. You're not going to win games without it. I'm trying to think where I want to go next. You know what? Yeah, we'll start there. Let's break into the can of worms that is Ben Simmons. I've been a pretty big Ben Simmons defender. Anybody who watches knows that. Trae Young last night had like 40 points. I think he had 39. A good number of those were free throws. Trae Young was 10 of 23 from the field, under 50% shooting. 10 of 23 is awful. Simmons' defense of Trae Young last night I thought was great. I thought it was great. He scored 39. A lot of that came out of free throws. Now, Ben Simmons, and I've said this before, how do I say this? Ben Simmons defensively is top 3 in the NBA. Easily. Probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I actually can't believe he didn't. My friend, who's a Mavericks fan, couldn't believe he didn't. Offensively, you know what? Yeah, he just ain't great. We can argue back and forth about how we feel about that. But at this point, you kind of expect it. Right? Like, Ben Simmons had 8 points last night. That's not that bad of a night for Ben Simmons, if you think about it. Now, two of those were free throws. 2 of them were dunks. I can't remember where the other 2 came from. Probably a layup somewhere. Ben Simmons was like 2 of 10 on free throws last night. That's really bad. I mean, like, if you can't hit outside shots, all right. 2 of 10 from the free throw line. That's embarrassing. I mean, my God, that is brutal. After many, Sixers losses, this one included, the immediate Ben Simmons. Everybody on Twitter's ragging on Ben Simmons. Everybody in the media is ragging on Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons. Okay, got it. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. Ben Simmons was not very good offensively last night. Defensively, I thought he was great. Offensively, he obviously could have been much better. What I don't see as much of today, and there's more of it last night and this morning than there have been at other times where I thought it was necessary. Tobias Harris scored 4 fucking points in 38 minutes. 4 fucking points. Tobias Harris had less points than Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris had less points than Ben fucking Simmons, who is a league-wide joke about how terrible he is offensively. Tobias Harris had 50% of the points that Ben Simmons had. Tobias Harris is the literal definition of inconsistency. I know how good he can be. I've seen him drop 30 plus multiple times this season. 4 points in 38 minutes. How do you even manage that? Now, I understand Embiid was hot and Seth was hot. So when you're Simmons and you're bringing the ball down, you're thinking, all right, get it to Joel, get it to Seth. I got that. So Harris probably didn't score or take as many shots as, say, Embiid and Seth Curry. Got it. 4 points is still inexcusable in 38 goddamn minutes. Ridiculous. Here's the thing. And this is what I will say to the Ben Simmons gambit, okay? 2 points. Because remember this, Tobias Harris is a max contract player, as is Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris is a max contract player. I've seen Tobias Harris hit 30 plus multiple times this season. Has Ben Simmons hit 30 once in his career? Actually, I'd have to look that up. I have absolutely no idea. For better or for worse, and again, we can argue how we are supposed to feel about this. For better or for worse, what I got out of Ben Simmons last night, not unexpected. Ben Simmons puts up like 16 points. That's a pretty good game for him offensively. Ben Simmons puts up 8 points. Can be better. It really sucks because he missed 8 goddamn free throws. But low numbers offensively for Ben Simmons. At this point, it's expected. You might think that's bullshit. And I'm not. And I can respect that opinion. Like I said, we can argue about how we feel about this. But, for better or for worse, you expect 8 points a game out of Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris, it is very, very, very easy to say, you know what, you should expect double-digit points out of Tobias Harris every single night. He should be that kind of player. It's not out of the realm of the possibility to expect 16 from Tobias Harris a night. I've seen him drop 30 plus multiple times this season. It's there. But then he'll just have nights like last night where he just doesn't appear anywhere, including the goddamn scoreboard. Here's the other thing. People look at Ben Simmons and they say, dude, you're a max contract player. How the hell do you not have a jump shot? How the hell do you go 2 for 10 in free throws? Say, we're paying you max contract money. What are you doing? And at least Ben can look at you and say, you know what? You put me up against any player in the NBA. Pick one. And I will defensively smother 95% of them. Okay. There are not many guys in the NBA that can say that. Hell, look what Ben Simmons did to Luka Doncic multiple times this season. You look at Ben Simmons and go, dude, we're paying you a max contract. You scored 8 points. At least Ben Simmons can say, match me up with anybody in the NBA on defense, and I can cover pretty much all of them. Except maybe like Kevin Durant. Okay, that's something. And there's not many guys in the NBA that can defend like that. I could probably count them on like one hand. Now, and I'm not defending Ben Simmons' lack of offense necessarily. I'm just saying, at least there's something there that Ben can look at you and say, I can do this. Name me another couple guys that can do that. You look at Tobias Harris, and you go, dude, we're paying you a max contract. You scored 4 fucking points. And that's not the only time Tobias Harris has done that this season. There have been multiple times this season where I look at Tobias Harris, I look at a Sixers game, you pull up Google, it'll show you all the stats and stuff. There's been multiple times where I've looked at scores of a Sixers game and gone, damn, Tobias Harris had 32 points, 34 points, 30 points. But there have also been multiple times this season where I look at the stats the following morning and go, where the fuck was Tobias Harris? He had 5 points. He had 7 points. He had 4 points. Players like that should not get max contracts. Not when you're that inconsistent. I don't give a shit if you can put up 30 one night. You better be putting up 15, 16 every night. Because I know goddamn well you can do it. You look at Tobias Harris this morning and say, what did you do last night to justify your max contract? At least Ben Simmons can look at you and say, you know what? I matched up against Atlanta's best player, Trae Young, an up-and-coming star in the NBA. And you know what? Ben Simmons did a pretty goddamn good job of guarding him. At least he can hang his hat on that last night. What does Tobias Harris say? He did nothing all game long. Nothing. Ben Simmons' defense, to a certain extent, can justify... It's so good, it can, to an extent, justify the lack of offense. What does Tobias Harris say? He's not a good defender. He's too inconsistent on offense. Game 5, second round of the playoffs, in front of the home crowd, 4 points, can't defend. Inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. I was disgusted. I was disgusted as soon as that game finished. I mean, I was disgusted with a lot of things. But when I rack through my mind and I think, all right, what am I most pissed off about? The bench pisses me off. 13 points from the entire bench. It kind of pisses me off. Ben Simmons, you know what? Yeah, 2 for 10 from the free throw line. Yeah, that kind of pisses me off. But, God, at least Ben Simmons did a fairly good job of guarding Trae Young. And that's hard to do. Tobias Harris, there are no excuses there whatsoever. None. 4 points. I don't understand. I don't understand. Somebody make it make sense. I was watching that game and, fourth quarter hit and just, after like a minute, I was like, God, it just doesn't seem like the Sixers shots are falling anymore. The Sixers. Joel and Seth. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, God, there's no way we let this happen again, right? There's no way. Because I watched last game too. There's no way we let this happen again. I don't even know what to say. We play again tomorrow night. In Atlanta. I don't even know what to say about the Atlanta game. I will say it was funny watching Ben Simmons last night. And again, I'm a Ben Simmons defender. People don't like Ben Simmons. You know what? Okay. Especially after watching last night, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can understand why that pisses you off. It's funny to watch him, get the ball, bring it down, pass it to the first person, and he just kind of stands there. And he's just, as soon as he gets even close to the three-point line, it's just funny to watch. Now again, personally, I like his defense. Not everybody thinks it's worth it. I don't know if I think it's worth it or not, but when I look at, does some of the blame for last night go on Simmons? Yeah, sure. Certainly not all of it. It's Tobias Harris. That's disgusting. 4 points in 38 minutes. For a player that I've seen play 30 minutes and drop 30 plus. It's inexcusable. I'm going to be pissed about this one for a while. So it's one of those things, like, even if we go on and we win the series, and I'm not even saying we will, but even if we do, it's like, yeah. We're not beating Brooklyn playing like this. That's not happening. And Brooklyn's winning that series. The Bucks are just an eternal disappointment every single year. People keep saying, the Bucks are good. The Bucks are going to do something this year. It's the same thing every year. The Bucks are just an eternal disappointment. Well, the Jazz. Speaking of eternal disappointments, no Kawhi Leonard. Jazz still couldn't take a game. Clippers are whack, man. The Sixers hurt me. The Sixers physical pain, man. My God, I don't understand. Somebody make it make sense. All right, I'm going to go get back to work. I got stuff to do. I will, I don't know. I'll see you guys whenever the hell I see you guys. It's off of football season, so, it's just kind of randomness. So, I don't know. We'll see you whenever I see you, I guess. Take it easy.